Running a business can feel lonely, especially when the decisions get heavy. Welcome to CEO Whisperer by Saurabh Jain. Practical insights from the boardroom and the meditation cushion. I'm Saurabh. I've done 10,000 hours in three major parts of my life. I've spent 10,000 hours being a CEO, 10,000 hours being a board member, and 10,000 hours meditating. What we're going to do in each episode is really unpack a real business challenge that a CEO is facing and see if we can work through it together. Enjoy. So today we're going to interview Lakun Agrawal. He's the CFO of a mid-sized payments gateway platform called Hello Clever. The real takeaway for CEOs today is going to be, how do I select my 2IC? How do I make sure I get the right guy or gal in that CFO scene? Very, very complex decision. And we're going to really explore that with Lakun and talk about how he went from large corporate to a scale-up startup and why he was the right guy for the job. Hi, g'day guys. Saurabh here again from CEO Whisperer. Welcome. Today I've got Lakun from Hello Clever. Do you want to introduce yourself in a couple of minutes?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Saurabh. Hi guys. My name's Lakun Agrawal. I'm the CFO at Hello Clever. I've been there for about 18 months now, and Hello Clever is a Australian startup in the FinTech space, in particular payments processing, loyalty rewards, and AI agents. Prior to that, I spent about 2 decades as a CFO of businesses inside large global multinational companies. So I've had a long career inside global multinationals, and very lately I've now moved into a very different environment, which is the Australian startup environment as well. So yeah, that's where I'm now.
Well, I mean, so the way we run these sessions is often you bring a problem with you that you want to kind of solve.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us what are you thinking? Like, what's the problem that you want to solve within your world today?
So the biggest problem, I mean, for me is how can someone of my experience and my ilk, a CFO with decades of experience, manage themselves and their tasks and resources in a way that adds the most value to a very different environment in a smaller business. So I want to talk about like a few things that I've had to
So make that very narrow. Can you make that quite specific? Like what's a specific problem or a scenario that you're having that isn't quite gelling?
I think, the number one problem for a startup is runway. You know, how much money do we have left? And many different components lead to that runway changing every month. So one problem that we have in our business is we don't have a stable future.
Yeah.
We have a very unpredictable future with a lot of different outcomes month on month, quarter on quarter. So the challenge for me as a CFO is to ensure that our business can keep growing. Our business has the funds to do what it wants to do. People still get paid and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But how do we manage the business and the finances and the funding in such a way that we can do all of these wonderful projects that we want to do and yet not run out of money? So it's a very different problem to what I was dealing with in a month.
So would it be kind of, how do you kind of fund the growth?
Yes.
Choose what to invest in.
Exactly.
But not go bankrupt.
Exactly. And I think
not run out of cash, right?
Exactly. And I find one of the biggest things I find is that the entrepreneurs and the CEOs who start and run these businesses are the visionaries.
Yeah.
And they employ people like me as a CFO to keep them on track, but they themselves, depending on their personality, they themselves are not on track. They'll easily go off track. So there's a bit of a nice tension there that you have to have in a company.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, we make the problem statement. How do we grow and then not run out of cash at the same time?
Yeah.
Because there's two parts of that, right? Like, how do you pick what you want to invest in? Your capital allocation, and then how do you also not grow yourself broke?
Yes.
How do you not grow so quickly that you completely run out of cash?
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, give us some background. I mean, why would someone go from large corporate to startup? What made you make that first change?
Well, to be honest, part of it was forced, part of it was chosen. So the industry I was in marketing services, which is in the last few years, especially undergoing a bit of a decline. Not marketing as a profession, but marketing services companies. Yeah. Like marketing agencies that serve large corporates. Yeah. I think AI is actually upending a lot of practices in that industry, and there's a lot of cost reduction happening. So in that phase in the last couple of years, I was had an opportunity to leave, which I took, and then basically wanted to change my trajectory of what I call my final
So
third of my
as
career.
soon as so let's say you finished off, you got paid out where you got paid out,
Yes.
hopefully did well.
Yeah.
Um, so the day you finish,
Hmm.
how do you make that decision about what to do next?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because it's very common for like, especially mid-level management or execs in large corporates. You'll have a restructure, right?
Yes.
You'll get caught up in it. You'll
Yep.
be on the
Yep.
wrong side of the numbers.
Yes.
You'll get voted off the island,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden, like you're by yourself, right? And you got to decide what to do next. How did you tackle
So
that?
it's a very interesting question to me because where I am now, I'm in a very happy place and happy outcome.
Mm,
But how I handled that departure,
yeah,
reflecting back on it, I did all the wrong things.
yeah.
Despite
Like, what did
the
you do?
advice.
What?
So firstly, I didn't give myself a break.
Mm.
And because I'd been forever working, and I think a lot of your own personal identity, at least for me, is wrapped up in
Oh, 100%.
my work, my title, where
I mean,
all that kind of
that's your
stuff.
worth, right? Especially as
So
a yeah.
you don't throw that away instantly, even though your job might go.
Mm,
You're mentally, I was still wrapped up in it, and I wanted to get back to work so damn quickly.
yeah.
I didn't give myself a chance to have a mental break and switch off.
Did you know you should have a mental break, or was that not even on
It
the
was
radar?
advised to me by so many people that I know and trust, but I just
Yeah.
couldn't. I just had to keep on. So what I did was
And
the moment I left,
so then what stopped you from having that mental break?
um, probably a really deep answer, which I won't go too deeply into, but
Mm,
it's like just fear of failure almost.
yeah.
Like, what if I never get a job again? What if I never
Yeah.
work again? Like all these bad thoughts that come in your mind when you're
And by the way,
by yourself.
that
So
happens to almost every exec.
yeah,
Like, I reckon all of us have a tiny bit of imposter syndrome in us.
yes,
We worried we got made redundant, or we got on the wrong side of the numbers, or we left a
yep,
great career. And you're like, will I ever get another job again?
yep. And it sounds so silly to say, given like my own like pedigree of what I've done in my
Mm,
career, as if I will never find another job again. But in that moment,
yeah.
that part of that's like I need to talk to people, I need to have meetings with people every day to look for a job, and let people know I'm out there. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was a bad thing to do
Mm,
because I actually needed and should have taken a break,
yeah.
which I didn't. After exhausting my network and possibilities, I
Mm.
then took a little bit of a break, a little bit of downtime, but I never took a proper break. And then the other bad thing I did,
And so, just around the mechanics. So, what you
yes,
initially did, have lots of coffees with people, lots of catch
yes,
ups, those
yes,
met
yes.
recruiters, built your
My
network again,
correct. So
that kind of thing.
my most inner network, all the professional people I knew in marketing and marketing services,
Mm,
met them. Met my recruiter network again.
yeah.
People who I have worked with in the past or I've recruited from in the past, now saying I'm now a candidate,
Hmm.
not a client.
Yep.
So just going through all of that, and each one of those is a conversation that takes time
Mm,
to go in, meet them, have a proper chat, an hour or so, and then
yeah.
leave again. So yeah, it's a time consuming exercise rebuilding your networks
Yeah.
when you're looking for a role.
And I find often execs fall in one or two categories. One category is that despite working full time, they still nurture their network.
Yes.
Another type that they're just so busy working full time, they don't have time for the network.
Mm.
Well, which category did you fall
I'm the
into?
first. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
So you kept a strong network.
all throughout my career had a strong network, which probably led me to not taking a break. It's like I've got such a strong network.
Mm,
I've lost my job here.
yeah.
Let me go to my network.
Yep.
That's strong. That
Because the
I've
half life of
cultivated.
your network is very small, right? So you want to use it as soon as you can.
That's true. Yeah, and I hadn't verbalized it like that, but I kind of felt that. Yeah,
Mm,
my network half life is small because if I went now, I'm 18 months outside of that industry I was in, which I
mhm.
was in for 20 years.
Yep.
But even though I was in there for 20 years,
Mm,
18 months out of it, I don't feel like I could ring people up as strongly as I could
mm.
the day I left it.
And what did you say to your network? Were you originally after the same sort of large corporate role again? Were you
Yep.
more of the same?
And that was the second mistake I
Mm,
made, sorry. So the first mistake was not giving myself a break. The second mistake was um, not facing reality. Is the reason my company was cost cutting and reducing was
mm.
because it was not my company that was losing in the market. It was an industry structural shift that was happening,
Yeah.
which meant every one of our competitors and also upstream and downstream
Mm,
were all cutting costs. So
yeah.
I was looking in the wrong place. I
Mhm.
was looking in marketing. All my network, the majority of my network.
And would it have been
was in
specifically a CFO role in marketing?
Yep. I was looking for a CFO, commercial director role in marketing, marketing services, marketing adjacent.
Yeah.
But actually, the entire industry was undergoing the same cost reduction.
Mhm.
So I spent a frustrating amount of time looking for jobs in places where there were no jobs.
How long did that take for you to figure that out?
Probably about 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Like just the whole process of going through my network, talking to conversations. And because I had developed a strong network and I had cultivated that throughout my working career, everyone answered my call.
Yep.
Everyone was happy to meet with me.
Mhm.
But then as you go through every conversation, you
Yep.
realize, okay, this is like, there's nothing happening here.
Yep.
I need to go in a completely different direction.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what did you do next? What did you decide?
So basically then I started looking for, to be honest, the whole market as a whole at that time, this was mid 2024, was very poor, especially for senior roles. So I started looking for contracts and projects. I wouldn't even call them contracts; they're just projects. Like I knew lots of people, and I had a lot of resident knowledge. So I started offering my services to do a task or a project or whatever. And some of these were a few days long, some of them were a couple of weeks long, etc. So I would just be picking up bits and pieces of work here and there to keep myself engaged, to provide value for some organizations. So I worked with 3 or 4 different, actually maybe 5 different companies actually.
Yeah.
And one of the projects I landed, which ended up becoming my role here, was for this company, Hello Clever, where I knew the CEO from before. And she wanted to buy a company. It's a startup company. She didn't have like a CFO on board. She needed someone to do the due diligence and tell them why they should buy the company or shouldn't buy the company.
So do some M&A due diligence to,
And which, to be honest, I'm not a corporate CFO. I'm a more of an operational commercial CFO. So, but I know the theory and what you should be doing, and I've got way more knowledge than anyone in that business at the time. So I did this project for her, and that project finished. We ended up not buying the company. Like there's many reasons why you don't buy a company. But in that process, the CEO realized that.
So it's CEO or CFO, sorry?
She was the CEO.
A CEO, yep. Okay.
And in that process of doing that project and finishing it, which ended up taking 4 weeks, not 2 weeks, she said to me at the end, look, I realized I actually need a CFO in my business. Like we were 20 people last year. We're now 40 people now. We're getting to the stage where we need someone to help with this. And so that became a conversation and an entry point into that organization.
And then, I mean, were you at the stage where you would have, when we go through our job process and you get to a stage where you just take anything just to kind of keep you busy to figure out what to do? Were you at that stage yet, or were you still actively looking at large corporates?
Oh, no, I was, because I had exhausted my preferred industry, preferred role, preferred contacts.
Yeah.
And at the time, because it was an industry structural cost reduction happening, and there was nothing else on the horizon in my preferred industry, well, then if I'm going to look outside of where I've been for the last 20 years, I'm open to anything.
Yeah.
Right? Any industry, obviously a suitable role within the industry. But then you strike the reality of the job market at the time. As a senior person, you've got no experience in an industry. It's not the type of job market where people will then take people from other industries and parachute them in.
There's just more risk to it, right?
There's more risk to it. But I do find a paradox in this, because if you're a CEO, it's very easy for people. I see it all the time in the papers, like someone's appointed CEO of this company. And they've had no industry experience before, but they've had a great run as a CEO somewhere else. So skills don't have to be transferable if you're a CEO. If you're a CTO or a CFO, I find a lot of employers want the industry experience because it's that kind of job market at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but how did that feel going from how many employees would your last company have had that you were responsible for?
So 300.
300. So you kind of went from 300 to like 20 or 40 people now.
40 when I joined.
40 when you joined.
Yeah.
When you walk through the door, like you probably don't fit the typical stereotype CFO in a startup.
Absolutely not.
No.
My whole career and identity is being a big CFO in a big company, handling big numbers, big budgets, reporting to global, making financial operations run smoothly, supporting my sales and marketing teams, making things hum. Like I'm a very operational CFO, not a corporate CFO. And when I came to Startup Land, those skill sets, a lot of them are not required in Startup Land, but the craft and the knowledge that I have is required. So it actually brings you right back to the bare bones of your craft and being able to deliver a financial, at its bare bones, financial operations to the organization, so things just run.
Yeah.
But if a CEO just wanted to run things, they would employ a finance manager or a bookkeeper. But the reason they're appointing a CFO is to elevate the function and provide the strategic support and guidance as they go through the next stages of evolution of their company.
What did they have before you joined? Like, what was the incumbent? An outsourced bookkeeper or a fractional CFO?
A lot of startups handle this a different way because I work in a building full of startups and most of them do not have CFOs. They're not of that size, and maybe 40, 50s when you start thinking of having someone there. So what most of them have is either an outsourced bookkeeper or someone who works part-time, but you never see them, so they're outsourced.
Yeah.
Or what we had, which was someone who has some finance knowledge, but is not it's not a career CFO and does the CFO-ship in coordination with another role, which is typically ops. So we had a COO, Chief Operating Officer, who had a background in finance. So he was doing the CFO role part-time alongside his main role of operations. And I've actually seen a few other startups who do that same sort of thing. There's someone who's got a kind of a background in finance that sort of takes on the role, whilst you're small, like from 0 to 30, 40 people.
How does one even convince the CEO to take someone like you, right? Because it's really hard for a CEO to pick a CFO. It's one of the most important decisions you have to make, especially when you don't have abundance of cash.
Yep.
And you've got to be very prudent. You're thinking, can I trust this guy? Will they do the right thing for the company? You don't fit the mold. Like, you're not in your late 20s. Correct. And you're not like fresh out of university and, super high risk tolerance. Because I find the older you get, generally the CFOs tend to reduce their risk tolerance. Oh, that's the perception from a CEO's perspective. How did you convince the CEO to take you on board?
I think I spun. You've listed a series of facts. I spun them in a very different way.
Yeah, please tell me. Yeah.
So I said, look, what you need, you're a fast-growing startup company, which is fantastic. You're a young executive, like early 30s to mid 30s, with a great visionary entrepreneurial spirit. What you need is an experienced guiding hand as you grow through the various different stages of your evolution.
Yeah.
Making sure we allocate capital to the right areas, make sure we raise it from the right people at the right price, at the right valuation. We don't lock ourselves into terms in debt, equity, or any of that.
Yeah.
Also someone who can just make all of your internal finances just hum smoothly, automated, etc. A younger finance manager, finance controller won't have had enough runs on the board really to have the expertise to do all of the operational and the corporate stuff that I'm talking about.
So clarify my question. I've got no doubt that an older, more experienced person is the right person for that kind of role.
Yes.
What I wonder is, how do you convince the CEO that? Because you're asking the CEO to go against what the mold is. I mean, I totally agree. They want someone more experienced who's done this before, who's seen this 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
But often a CEO doesn't think like that.
Oh, you're very right. I think it really depends on the CEO's mindset. They and what they're lacking and what they need to complement. It's sort of like, I'm not sure if my CEO is going to watch this, but it depends on how self-aware my CEO is.
Yeah.
Right. My CEO did have a bit of a finance background, not like a long career like I've had. But I think in that project of doing the M&A, firstly, why did they reach out? Because they knew that this is a big transaction. They need some proper professional advice.
Yeah.
Neither my CEO or the COO, who was doing the CFO thing part-time, had the requisite skills, experience, time even, or diligence to do that properly. Let's go get someone. And they knew, because I knew them from before through my professional networks, that they knew that I was available in market to do projects because I'd reached out to them, etc., in this period when I was looking for work. So that they reached out to me to do this project because I was available and they knew me and I knew them. So I think in that process, they actually understood what value I bring to their decision-making and the level of clarity and assurance they get from making decisions, yes, no, do this, do that, or questioning certain things. And also when they are sitting in the meetings with a prospective company they want to buy, I'm in those meetings asking the questions on behalf of the company.
Yeah.
They feel a lot more assured and in control when they have that by their side. So I think the ability to demonstrate my value immediately to a task or a problem
Yeah.
just made them think, we're now 40 people now, we're not 20 people anymore. We kind of need this kind of
Yeah.
CFO ship on our
But I
side.
wonder whether it's probably less about what you brought.
Yeah.
It's probably more about what your CEO already had in them, that self-awareness that you mentioned.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, if you step back to that point.
Because I think
Absolutely. Because
if they didn't have that, no matter what you said, you wouldn't have been able to convince them.
true, there are CEOs out there who,
I reckon half
has,
CEOs, I mean, probably half the CEOs out, I don't know what the percentage is,
yeah,
probably are not fully self-aware.
yeah. And there are lots of roles you can put into your organization. And I find most of the roles CEOs tend to gravitate towards is more sales, more ops.
Yep.
Like sell, but more people to sell stuff, more people to build the stuff I'm selling.
So I tell you why, because if you were good at a financial model, you'd never do a startup because the chances of
That's right.
success are so low.
Yep, yep.
Like if you're good at finance, you just wouldn't do it. But if you're good at sales, you do it. If you're good at operations, you'll set up a startup.
Yeah, exactly. So
Um,
I think a lot of those CEOs are very entrepreneurial spirited people, and
mm,
um, you've got limited resources, limited opportunities to add headcount every year.
yeah.
And when you do, you just want to sell more and build more.
Mm,
All these functions that we are, corporate,
yeah.
HR, IT, etc., they're like, the immediate thought is, where can I outsource
Yeah.
that?
Your overheads, you're a cost base, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and if you ever find a self-aware CEO that just doesn't start every conversation already knowing they're right,
yeah,
hang on to them.
yeah.
Because there aren't enough of them out there.
No, that's right. And look, I mean, we're all human beings.
Mm,
We're all complex beasts. Even like if I think back through my career, some of the best bosses I've had have been very self-aware and very much knowing when to defer to others for professional advice.
hmm.
But even those best bosses I'm thinking of in my mind
Yeah.
have moments and times where they're just completely wrong and pig-headed and just
Hmm.
want their way.
Yep. Everyone's human.
And look,
Yeah.
I say, well, they're the boss. I'm not. So
Yeah.
the boss ultimately has the right to make a decision that's against the advice of a salesperson or a CFO or
Mm,
whatever, because of the way they see things
yeah.
sometimes. So, and sometimes those decisions are objectively wrong.
Yeah.
In it's not the financially optimal decision or whatever, but they've got other things in their mind as to why they want to do things.
Yeah. I mean, it's phenomenally hard. And this is probably the difference between a CEO and a CFO. Like a CFO, you'll know your domain really, really well.
Yes.
But what a CEO does, they know a tiny bit of finance, tiny bit of sales,
Yeah.
tiny bit of ops, and they've got to somehow weave them together and figure out what the right decision is.
Yes.
And it's hard. You get it wrong a lot of the time.
Yes. Yes.
But it's a complex thing to figure out how to do.
And I think so. I think I would describe myself as a self-aware CFO.
Mm,
So if every decision was a decision based on what is the most financially optimal outcome, every business would run like a CFO runs the business,
hmm.
and there would be really no entrepreneurial spirit or
Yep.
creativity in the business. So I'm aware that my perspective as a CFO overlays or sits alongside, not overlays, the perspective of an ops team who are trying to develop products that go in a certain area, a strategy team that wants to develop something new for the market, a CEO who wants to do something else, marketing who wants to do something else. And
Yep.
so I'm one voice at a table.
Mm,
I would argue in my own interest. I'm a strong voice at the
hmm.
table, but I'm not the only voice at the table.
Yep.
And yeah, I do recognize that the CEO does need to make compromises and decisions as to what's best because different departments sometimes come up with completely different ways the company should go. And the
Yeah.
CEO's job is to corral
Bring
everyone
them
together
together.
and also
Yeah.
decide on the best combined way.
So you get the job, you got your start date, you rock up on that Monday. You have like a Monday management meeting, I'm guessing most organizations do.
We have a Monday
Yeah.
meeting. Yes, we
So
do.
you rock up to your Monday morning, Monday afternoon. What's yours?
It used to be Monday morning. It's now Monday afternoon.
Okay, Monday afternoon. You rock up to
Yeah.
your management meeting.
Yeah.
Here's this new guy that looks
Correct.
different to everybody else.
Correct.
Um, how do you feel in that situation?
I felt like a kid again, actually.
Yeah, explain to me why. Yeah.
So look, I haven't changed jobs too many times in my life.
Mm,
My last organization I was at for like 13 years. So going for a new job and that first day at a new job feel, I hadn't experienced for a very long time.
mm,
And I felt a mixture of nervousness because it was
mm.
new. I didn't know anyone. I didn't
Yeah.
know the industry.
Didn't have any friends yet.
Didn't
Yeah.
have any friends yet other than the people who employed me.
Yeah.
And it was just nervousness. But it wasn't nervousness meaning that I was cowering down.
Mm,
It was almost like energy-based nervousness,
Yeah.
meaning I was wanting to contribute. I was wanting to do something. I was wanting to tell people what I can do. I was wanting to show people what I can do and wanting to help them. So it actually brought out from me when I was introduced in that first meeting a side of me which is very it's the more engaging side of Lakun. It's like, hi, how are you going? I'm this is what I used to do, etc. I'm a bit demonstrative. I can talk fast, too fast sometimes. But people immediately got a sense of my character, what I was.
Did you say much during your first meeting?
No, just introduce myself basically, and cracked a joke or two here or there.
Yeah.
But just look, I tell them what I'm looking to get out of it, etc. Gave them a bit about my background because the first thing they're wondering is, who is this guy? Where
did he come from? What's he done in the past?
Let me just explain briefly my background, what I've done, and what I'm looking forward to doing here.
Yeah.
It was like all I wanted is a pass mark in everyone's mental mind of, okay, this is a good guy. Let's
he's
work
a
with
normal person. Yep. Don't have to be afraid.
Yeah, and also because I'm coming from a corporate background. And by the way, in startups, most people who join a startup aren't joining a company for the first time. They've worked somewhere before. So people are used to people coming from a corporate background to a startup. But it's important for them to know like what kind of person I am, what kind of corporation I've come from, what kind of expertise I bring. So they kind of know mentally where I fit into the organization.
So when you're at your prior company, the marketing services, like how big would your team have been?
So because we're part of a group, my immediate team was about 4.
Okay.
And my extended team, because we had shared services which support our business, but they also support other businesses, that would have been about, I'd say about 4 or 5 that support our business. So maybe an 8 total.
And how big was your team when you joined this?
Me plus 0.6 of a person. So 3 days a week.
And they did the journals, the bookkeeping, that kind of stuff for you?
Yeah, it was basically me.
Yeah.
Me plus a helper. But that's changed slowly over time. But trying to grow.
But then you go from like a company where you got to delegate a lot of things to a company where you have to do everything. How did you find that change?
That's one of the biggest changes I've had to deal with personally, because I'm an action-oriented person generally. So even though what I described, I had technically 8 people reporting to me, everyone had their roles to do and jobs to do. So there wasn't a lot of direction required. I mean, help, guidance, all that stuff. But every day people knew what they had to do in their roles. And that gets one used to looking after certain parts of finance and other parts just reviewing or ticking off on it. You're not doing it. Now you find
you're doing everything, right?
Doing everything.
Yeah.
From doing supplier payments and payroll to doing board packs, and everything in between. Raising capital, dealing with investors, doing the budgets, reviewing the budgets, logging onto the banking site to do one of 2 payment approvals, like everything from go to woe. And I found that quite a shock to the system, to be honest, because I've
explain shock to me a bit more.
Not that any of those tasks were difficult or not being able to done, but I had to develop a new skill, I'd say, and I'm sort of just verbalizing this as I'm talking to you about it, is my mind has to be so flexible to get a call from my CEO saying, hey, if I raise this amount of capital at this, what would be the new shareholdings at blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Can you do a board paper on this company that we want to buy and the strategy behind it and the rough numbers, etc. Here's some information. We'll basically analyze this, do a quick thing there. 2, someone didn't get paid and they're complaining about the tax taken out of their pay in the last 2 pays ago. Can you look into that issue? So going from very strategic, high-level stuff that actually is quite impactful to the company to just resolving a day-to-day
transaction,
operational issue, which still requires a bit of digging and a bit of understanding, but each of them take up time. And getting my head from strategic to way operational and back again several times a day was a skill I didn't have before. And that's a skill I've had to learn, is just to be very nimble and flexible mentally in what's coming up.
So I think what you're referring to is what they call context switching.
Yes.
And what you try to do is you try to reduce the delay between moving from one context to another context. Like 5-year-olds are great at this, but I think the older you get, the more experience you get. It just kind of takes longer.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Was that just practice, was it? Or is there a specific way one does that?
I think I'm naturally more able to do it than others because even like in my old role, when I compared my ability to manage an agency versus my CFO brethren in other agencies that I used to talk to a lot, I would always rate myself as a bit faster, a bit quicker, being able to do things. And I think I've got personally time management in a way that works for me
Yeah.
down pat, and my habits and my little reminders, the way I work, the way I organize things, the way I
Okay,
do.
so you got your little system
I've
set
got
up.
my system
Yeah.
set up to be able to do handle many things coming at me.
Mhm.
And so, but what I like the context switching is the best way to is a good way of terming it. It's I think my habits enable that to happen much easier
Yeah.
than if I didn't have those time saving habits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so you're in the organization now. You've settled in.
Yep.
Um, what do you see? What do you see exists, and what do you see that needs to be changed?
Oh wow, so much.
Mm.
It's like going into a business that's never had a full-time CFO run
Because
it.
I imagine then the management team like manage based on how much cash is in the bank, right? That's probably how they manage their expenses.
Yep. So there wasn't like there was, but there wasn't really a proper budgeting process. There wasn't proper processes in approving things either,
Yeah.
because we were just so small. Just the CEO and CEO decided to do things.
Yeah.
There was no process for the major stuff that's important is what do we work on next? What are we putting our money towards? Capital allocation,
Mm.
right? Like like one question I asked a simple question which became a big thing, which ended up becoming a process is, hey, we've got this huge tech development team that develops our product.
Yeah.
Hey, so how does he decide? He's got 20 engineers under him.
Mhm.
How does he decide what they work on next? Like, what's the system? And it's just basically through a few dumb questions, you found out, well, it's whatever the CEO and COO says
Mhm.
to the CTO,
Yep.
he gets them to work on. I said,
That's on the roadmap. Yep.
but there's other people from within the business in sales and ops who have other things. And so you must get like 20 requests a month or something. And he goes, yes, I do. So how do you know what to work on? And he says, well, I kind of then have a chat with the COO and whatever, and we decide. So it's like, it's kind of like whoever shouts the loudest
Mhm.
and whoever's title is the most senior,
Mm.
overrides other things they might be working on
Yeah.
as well. And that's not a good system. That's not a way to do product development or that. So I said, what we actually need is we need to operate like a hospital. I call it a triage system.
Mm.
All requests are welcome, like all patients are welcome. But when you come in, you're going to triage.
Mhm.
No matter who you are, it doesn't matter your title. Every request gets assessed on cost, revenue, improvement opportunity, cost reduction opportunity, regulation, error correction, all of that stuff. We'll rate it, and then every week or every fortnight, whatever the cadence is appropriate for our organization, we have a meeting of the same people you're talking about, but the leaders, but they review everything.
Yeah.
And they constantly up and down what's a priority. And we've got 15 things we want to work on. Our capability might only be 4 or 8. So we work on those 4 or 8 that we've just agreed as a priority.
Yeah.
And that's what you work on. You come back next week, do a new triage meeting and do it again and again. So, or the next fortnight, whatever it is. So we implemented a process because and that was an operational process, which I led the process design for because there was no process. And I'm just finding.
But how did you implement that with credibility? Because you haven't been in another startup. You haven't probably done this before.
By I'm not an operations person. I guess my credibility came from explaining to them what I clearly see with fresh eyes as the negative outputs of the current process or non-process.
But how do you even introduce that being that CFO that's just trying to slow things down, right? Because right now the CEO or the COO gets to do whatever they want, and they have a great vision of the organization. And now I've got the CFO coming in saying I can't get what I want. How does one reconcile that?
That's a good question. I think it's the way I sort of pitched it is what we should be doing as a big growing company, right? And that's fully aligned with what where they want to be as well. Is a company that's big, that's growing and then gets bigger and better.
Yeah.
And like I sort of said, imagine we were double the size where we are today, which is what everybody wants to double the size every year or two. we can't be running like this. We can't just be having meetings on the fly, etc., to decide what the 20 engineers do. We need a system. And before we build a system, which we don't have time to do now, let's at least have a process which we can then ape into a system later on, but a process which is flexible. It considers all the relevant factors we should be considering when making a decision. And I have a suggestion, by the way. How about we try this? So it wasn't coming to them with, this is wrong, you need to do this. Everything you've been doing in the past is silly or whatever. Like, it wasn't attacking. It was more like, let's try something to make it better, because as we need to grow and scale, and the reason they're bringing in people like me and others as well is we're reaching a stage where we need to start putting in processes and systems to scale to become even bigger. This is one idea that I said, let's try this, and that's what's been implemented since.
Okay. And what have been the negative consequences of a system like that?
Bureaucracy. So what you're doing is you're introducing.
You got a form to fill out now. You got a spreadsheet to fill some stuff into, right?
Correct. We have I think we do it on Notion actually, but it's a form. It's a form to fill out, a request. It gets rated. There's a bureaucracy in people requesting it. There's a bureaucracy in processing the request, and there's a bureaucracy introduced in deciding the priority of the request. So there's 3 types of processes. I mean, there was one before, but there was still but the request was just talking sometimes, not even recorded. The decision was very often talking and not recorded. No records of anything of why we're doing this now and what the benefit of it is, because sometimes the benefit of a request is now, but sometimes things change and people are still working on a project which no longer has the requisite benefit that was thought of at the time, but because nothing's documented, you don't know. Instead, we've got engineers working on projects that deliver no value. So they're the sort of things you can iron out with this sort of process, but also ensure that with whatever limited resources you have, 20, 22, 24 engineers, that you're working on the most high priority stuff that you can.
Because that would have been a sizable impact. I mean, that's probably half your cost base.
Yes.
It's probably half your employees.
Yes.
What kind of benefits did you guys get out of that?
I think happier engineering teams, number one, because I'm not a technical person, but what I gathered from their reactions was they love seeing their work used in production, supporting the business, growing the business. Well, nobody wants to work on a project or a task that doesn't really get used much, doesn't get recognized, and you kind of feel like, well, that was a bit of a waste of time. And of course, not everything works. You get that too. But I think the engineers took it positively because they were getting directions and they weren't task switching. Doing this task, and then suddenly someone with a bigger job title says, no, do this task. So they've got to stop this and do a brand new task because someone said it. And then going back to this thing that they were nearly finished on, like they stopped all of that stuff because we've now got a system of prioritization and hierarchy, which actually gave the business a lot more surety on what's being worked on week to week or fortnight to fortnight. That's good from a number of perspectives. It enables more tasks to be completed instead of task switching. It enables the right things to be completed. And because the right things have been completed, we're providing the product features and things for certain clients, existing or new. So then more revenue is being generated from that, which enables like a flywheel of more resources to go around.
Okay, so we've got our cost base sorted out. We've got good processes around that part of our organization. Now, if we turn our mind to the original question was, how do we grow and not run out of cash? So now let's think about the growth part of the organization. How were things running before you arrived from a finance perspective?
So we were an early stage startup. So like most early stage startups, we raise capital, we spend the money to build our product. And when we run out of money, we go back and ask for more capital. And
you always run out before you expect. You meet your cost budget. You never meet your revenue budget. Every startup has the same.
Pretty much the same. But once you've got a product that starts to gain traction in market, which we did. And
great, got some revenue coming through, which is fantastic.
And that revenue starts to grow and grow and grow. That gives your investors, compared to other investments they're making, a bit of confidence that you're onto something. Right? Because you're selling in the open marketplace, people are giving you real cash, and that real cash is growing every month. Great story. So then it's about what can we do to support you and grow you, etc. So that's that's the background I was in. We were a growing business, but we were losing money. So that's when I walked into the business. And so the huge focus for me immediately was how much cash do we have? When do we run out of that cash based on our current run rate of spend and growth? And I very quickly worked out we don't even have a proper forecast of spend or growth. So we needed to build that first to get a more accurate view. And
I mean, otherwise, I assume what they would have been doing is, we lost 100 grand last month, we got $1 million in the bank, we've got 12 months left. That's probably the way things were done.
Yes, but that simple analysis, which is exactly what my CEO did, is not right and dangerously not right, because if you spend 100 grand a month, but what's your trajectory?
Yeah,
you were
it's very two-dimensional.
100, then it's 120, 150. Like, actually, you've already forecast 4 people to come into the organization. That's going to be an extra salary cost. We're going to move offices. That's an extra rental cost, etc. Why don't we just forecast out what we know, forward-looking expenses, and your revenue? I can do it in 2 ways: on just revenue doesn't grow, or revenue grows a little bit, or revenue grows to the way we want it to grow. And have 3 versions of a cash flow forecast, which gives you 3 different runways, right? So that's a lot more information from just doing a little bit more financial analysis than just doing the back of the envelope, which is kind of how it was being run until this stage.
Okay, so you got proper forecast, you got some scenario planning, different growth levels, different cost bases.
Yes.
How do you explain that to the management team once that's built? Like, how do they use that as a tool to make decisions with?
I think the management team were very appreciative. Firstly, appreciative of getting some information with some diligence behind it.
So, how many people on the management team? How many?
4 on the core management team.
Okay, so it's quite a small team.
Yeah, and like we had an expanded leadership team of about 10. But yeah, 4 of our core management team, and they were a little bit surprised as to like how little money, how little runway there was. Because if you do a back of the envelope, what we spent last month, how much I got in the bank, divide one by the other, it's 10 months left. It's actually based on the decisions we've already made and the costs that are going to already increase. We could have as little as 5 months left, not 10 months left. So that's a bit of a shock to the system. There's that level of mental security they had. Remember, they're CEO management team in charge of a business which employs 40 people now. So, like, it's not just themselves. It's, we feel quite responsible for this organization that people have come into. So to suddenly think, I've only got 5 months left. Wow, okay, I need to.
Did you have people in that team then tell you, look, you should not share this broader with the organization? It'll scare people. They'll start looking at other jobs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is one thing.
And what's your view? Is your view more transparency or less transparency in this case?
I'm going to be a hypocrite and say my general view is more transparency, because in my experience in corporate life, I've experienced so many situations where management treat employees like mushrooms. They feel they shouldn't let people know, but people are better knowing things, generally speaking. So they know the situation and they know the best way they can contribute to improve the situation. I find it a very command and control attitude that, don't let the little people worry about these problems because they'll get unfocused on their work.
And I found people are smart. And people figure this stuff out themselves.
Yes. And then then people go, why aren't management telling us, etc. They actually lose faith in management the other way around. But also people are smart. Like, they can work out ways to help if they know what the problems are. Good people will find ways to help solve this problem. It's not just all in the minds of 1 or 2 people.
And were you able to do that? Were you able to be transparent at this stage?
Yeah. So the reason I'm a hypocrite is, whilst I say that, and that's my general view, on stuff like this, which is trying to tell people, oh, guys, we don't have nearly a year cash left. We've only got like 4 or 5 months left. Because I was so new to the organization, probably at that stage, and didn't know everyone and how they'd react, I said, let's just keep this between us for now. Let's find some strategy.
Did you say that, or were you suggested that?
I said that to the management team.
Yeah, and they agreed?
They agreed.
Yeah. In hindsight, was that the right call? Hindsight's fantastic.
I don't think so. I think as soon as you work something out and it's something so mission critical, like, I fell into the old command and control, let's not worry the little people about these problems mentality. Maybe that was ingrained in me from 25 years in a corporate. But actually, there's no one who would have been afraid or ran away or whatever. Like, people just need to know what the situation is.
Yeah.
I think there's so much value to be gained from CEOs and management teams sharing information about their business with the people in the business, and obviously keeping aside, corporate confidential stuff that you can't share.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing an M&A and only certain people can know about that. But generally, what's happening in your business, people should know, and I think people feel way more connected and way more trusting of management the more you share with them. So now, we share revenue figures with everyone in the company. We share what's happening with the capital and investment rounds and stuff we're doing with everyone in the company. So they're aware. We give them all monthly updates and things like that. So that wasn't the case before.
And what was the impact when, the core management teams figured out, look, our runway is not what we expected? Well, how did they react?
They were surprised, but they understood. First thing is they checked the calculations and quietly
check the model, make sure it works. Yeah,
quietly explain that. So the numbers add up, so that's fine. So you come to the realization, okay, so we've got this left. Then we then brainstorm as to what we need to do, right? And are we going to go out for more capital now? Are we going to put pauses on the cost expansion that we had planned or not? Let's look at the revenue. How real is that? How quickly can that come in? Can that be accelerated? So how, or whatever. So it was like assessing all of those three things.
Yeah. And how long had you been at the company for now?
A month.
Oh wow. Yeah. So you probably wouldn't have had that much street cred yet, would you?
No. So I'm self-aware enough to give, this is what I've found. Here's my calculations. This is our situation. This is what we're doing. Here's a quick forecast, etc. So I've done all the groundwork to come up with the analysis to then have a discussion as to what do we do. And so then at that stage, I didn't have enough cred to then lead the conversation. I had enough cred to give them an analysis of a problem, but not actually tell them what we should do, because I didn't know enough about the business.
So I'm on a bunch of company boards. Often I find some CEOs, when they're given this harsh truth, they just fall into denial. They're like, no, we're going to grow our way out of this problem. It's not a cost-based problem. We can always raise more money if we need to. There's nothing to worry about here.
You sound like my CEO.
Yeah,
that's exactly the. Is that denial? I'm not sure. Sorry, but like
it's a very strong optimism bias.
It's a very optimism bias, and
which is not always grounded to reality.
It's not always grounded, and I think the CFO has a default setting of, well, let's not spend more money if we're about to run out, which is a very negative bias, right? So there's a tension there, but all those things you mentioned are all the things my CEO did say. We'll grow out of this. We're going to get this, etc. We have
this deal coming on. They're going to sign up,
and even if we need to raise more capital, I'll just go to my major investors. They'll give me more capital. So don't worry about it. And
how do you handle that a month into an organization? You've just been unemployed. You don't want to lose your job again.
Correct. Yep. That went through my mind.
Yeah.
Instantly, like the first month when I'm uncovering and going, I've just got this job and we won't be out of money in 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the job market again. And that sucked.
Yeah. That went through my mind. And but what gave me a bit of confidence was not only the CEO who had this optimism, which may or may not be grounded.
CEO or CEO? Sorry. CEO, yep.
Not only did she have this incredible optimism, which I didn't think was grounded in reality on all of the points, but semi-reality. But you have to be a bit conservative in these situations. Well, what if all of that doesn't happen? Then we are going to run out of money. Then what do we do?
Yeah.
My COO, who was doing the finances part-time before I joined.
Were they co-founders, the CEO and COO?
No,
or
the COO came on later.
Afterwards, okay.
The CEO and the CTO
were the two.
Were the co-founders. So him, who has a lot more financial nous and experience, because he was doing that before I came on board, and the CEO and the CTO, none of them were worried. Which
so if I was a CFO, that would worry me that no one's worried.
No, and the reason they were not worried is because they were very confident in their product and their sales pipeline, which there is data for. And they've already grown from 20 to 40 people in the year just before I joined. And they have a product that is growing very fast because it's catching in the market. So the I think what gave me confidence that we're not going to run out of money in 4 months is the revenue forecast we had and the sales pipeline we had. If anything, they were conservative. They were not pie in the sky stuff. Like if it doesn't happen, we're going to run out of money. And our constraint was actually our product, getting product and currencies up and live so people can transact in different currencies so that these customers can then come on board.
Yep.
There's a little bit of regulatory onboarding with every customer in our industry, etc., which adds a bit of delay, which one thing we don't have is time. We've got 4-month runway. By the way, the 4 or 5 month runway was the worst case. The 1 year was the best case. So it's somewhere in
But
between.
so, as a CFO, wouldn't you be petrified that other people aren't afraid?
Initially, I was, but I had this conversation with the COO and actually asked him why. He said, "Because like I know what you're saying, but you don't know the business. That all these clients that we have in the pipeline will turn on the moment we get this currency live, get this rate with this country, etc., this payment method, etc." So, and COO was the head of sales and operations, so he knew all of that intimately. And some of those clients were being onboarded right now. Some of those currencies were being turned on right now, which meant in the next 4 weeks, you'll see some of that currency flow start to happen. You'll see some of that revenue start to land in the next month end and the following month end, a full month as well. So you'll actually start to see the trajectory. And so the burn rate that you're looking at now should be less and less, which extends your runway every month. Obviously, if you spend more than your revenue's growing, then the burn rate.
Did you believe him at the time?
I think I had no choice but to believe him. There was no reason for me to doubt him.
Well,
but I hadn't seen.
I've got no doubt he believed himself.
Yes.
But were you able to believe him in that moment?
More than 50%.
Okay.
Because of the track record he had in his previous 3-4 months, like showing all these new clients coming in on different currencies and how they're coming in. So I could believe the pipeline.
Okay.
Because that's what he was running off. So I had
some more hot water? Or?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I had no reason to doubt him.
Yeah.
It was just I hadn't had any experience within the company, any solid experience or time to have a reason to doubt him. So I think like we had to go with it, but I had to keep a strong eye on the finances and the cash flow and the burn rate and the revenue growth rate and
so
all of that.
Did you guys make any changes based on that forecast, that budget, that meeting?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did you do?
Not immediate. But I think, look, despite the optimism of my CEO, we did slow down some of the hiring, the new hires we had.
Some of the new heads that would have just increased the burn anyway, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So look, we've got this pipeline that needs to be.
How did you convince them to do that? Because often I've found when a CEO or a head of tech or a head of sales, they think the way to solve this is to spend more. Is to spend more on sales, spend more on marketing. It's a growth problem. Often I find CFOs default to it's a cost-based problem because that's the only thing you can control in a short amount of time. So what you've said is you've helped them think, well, let's not increase our cost base. How did you do that? Because they would have said, no, but we need this engineer to build this feature to sign this customer up. And if we do that, we'll net out ahead.
Yep. So I said, look, I said, in the short term, in the next 4 or 5 months, we have an engineering team of 22 or 23.
Which is a huge team, by the way. That's a very sizable team. Yeah.
Sizable team. Let's clearly articulate the highest value projects they can work on and pause all these other projects they're working on and reassign them. And you know that triage process I described earlier?
Yep.
One of them is revenue growth, potential revenue growth. Let's order it by that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's work on the highest revenue generation projects and the other ones which are regulatory cost avoidance or features, blah, blah, blah. They can just go down a list. Let's reassign 20 of those 24 onto the high revenue generation projects. We don't need to hire more people to get more revenue, to get the product delivered, to then turn on the ability to have these clients come on board, etc.
So I hear you and I understand why that was done. But if you went off to one of your CFO tea parties and told your CFO buddies that's what we're doing, they probably would have said that's probably not enough. If you've only got 5 months doing something that minuscule, like not recruiting more heads,
Yeah.
Like that's not enough of a drastic change.
Yeah, that's right. Correct. So I think the moment I did the analysis, I'm already preparing to go to investors for capital, right? Because
So you got your plan B kind of lining up.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so whilst we didn't verbalize and talk about a plan B,
Yeah.
I had already started developing. Okay, we'll do this, but I've got 1 month, maybe 2 months of believing you guys, and if it's not happening, we're like. I'm saying we need to stop all this crap now.
Because
We need to go to get capital. It'll take 3 months. I've got 3 months left.
I know it'll take you 3 months and you can't go to capital when you've only got a month left because you're just desperate. You've got payrolls to make.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we basically, once you get to T-3 months, is when I stop believing you, Tony.
Yeah.
Like we need to do what I say now. Otherwise, none of us will have a job in 3 months' time. So that's,
Did that end up happening?
No, we never,
Yeah.
but like, no, but you're asking why we didn't do more. It's like the management team had built this company from a normal startup, developing a product, not much revenue, to having a product that's starting to catch fire in the market.
Yeah.
And having a sales pipeline, and it now built an engineering team and a sales team. And I had enough confidence that they knew what they were doing, that they believed their own data, which they were talking to me about. And I said, okay, let's see it this month.
Yep.
And like if I've worked out the worst case is 5 months,
Yeah.
and nothing's happening for a month or two, then we go instantly into save the company mode kind of stuff. But we didn't get there. But that was in the back of my mind. But you're right. If I was a CFO and someone told me, what did you do when you only got 5 months left? I would just stop hiring.
Yeah.
That's not going to save your company. But we did delay a couple of roles to your earlier question, just because they were not critical to. We basically, I got them to agree. Most important thing now is revenue growth, right? Everything we do in the company should be aligned to revenue growth, every project, etc. There are some hires that are not revenue growth linked. We can pause them for a month or two. So that's all we did. Let's put all our efforts into this.
Yeah.
Let's change on what we're working on, because every department works on different priorities. All the priorities got to be around revenue growth to support that. And let's really kickstart that, or not kickstart's the wrong word, but let's put a fire
Focus on that.
Yeah, focus on that for the next couple of months, because we've got all these customers waiting to go, revenue waiting to be collected, because we're payments processing company. That the moment they onboard and turn on, money just starts flowing.
And you produce financials once a month, I guess, for this team? Is it monthly or
monthly financials?
Okay, so a month comes and goes.
Yep.
What's happened?
We've had a little bit of traction.
Yeah.
The burn rate has reduced, which is good. Not as much as I thought, but there are delays. And like in any business, what you forecast and what actually happens is sometimes different. And then you analyze why those delays were, and there were delays in onboarding, regulation. So basically the timing of when they started was later. So you come to that end of that month, and like we do our financials very quickly. So, within a couple of days of the month ending, you've got my result. So then I discussed that and saying, look, we can't go another month and be behind plan.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we won't be now, because we forecast, let's say, 2 weeks of this client, but they came in only for 6 days instead of 14 days. But the next month will be 30 days out of 30 anyway. So it's not going to matter.
Yep.
So it's only the new clients that they're forecasting. And so then we said, what are the new clients that you're forecasting to come into this month? Like on day 15, is it going to be day 15 or day 22 or whatever? And that's really where you quickly work out where the variance is likely to come from.
Yep.
Is the start date of new clients, not the existing clients, because unless their volume drops or whatever. So you start to get a feel for the natural run of your business. What actually
the importance of onboarding and quick onboarding and all that.
So what impacts in our world, and every business will be different, is the volume processed, and depending on the industry and actually what percentage share of their volume you have, that can change, and also start dates and end dates of contracts. So there are actually a few key things, and if you just focus on that and nut that out properly, you get a very accurate view of your revenue, which then guides you for the rest of your costs. So after 1 month came, we had improvement. Not as much as we had forecast in the initial meeting when I said we got 5 months left, but definitely improvement. And after 2 months, there was a lot more improvement.
Okay.
And probably.
And it was all revenue side improvement, was it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely revenue side. And that's, again, all that's doing is extending the runway. So now at the end of 2 months, I don't have 3 months left. I don't have 5 months left. I've now got 8 months left
Okay.
on my worst case.
Yeah.
Because the run rate is now much better because the burn rate is much lower.
So
it keeps.
if I'm the CFO, CTO, I'm thinking, great, I can go hire those heads now.
Yes.
What was your view to that? I assume that's what they thought. They wanted to go hire some more people straight away.
Yes.
And was that the right thing to do or wrong thing to do? What did you advise them?
Yes. But let's talk about which roles, how many, when, and what the cost is.
Mhm.
And let me guide you. In my head, let me tell you, but to them, let me guide you as to how much we can afford and when.
Yeah.
So that we don't end up spending more than we should.
Mm.
This is exactly the role a CFO should be doing, is guiding the organization to grow in a sustainable way. So
Yeah.
you never hire too many too quickly that you suddenly have these conversations about save the company 3 months to go kind of thing. You never want to be in that situation. And if you are, it's usually revenues fallen because of a failure of your product to land in the market, or you've just spent too much. You've grown too quickly in your cost base. So you can reduce costs, but that's not going to do much for your long-term future. Your long-term future all has to be about revenue growth. So the more, like, I also gravitate more towards improving product features, capability for things that land in market. But the decisions we have to make, I think finance can only ask the questions and probe, but it's a group decision, which often the CEO often has to decide upon, is which product features are we going to work on and why those in market versus option A, option B, option C.
But how do I understand that? Because so I used to be a CIO before I got into my CEO career, and if you're a good CIO, CTO, you can obfuscate everything.
Yep.
Why do I need 25 heads instead of 22? Well, you can make up any story.
You can, of course.
And any CFO, any CEO will not be able to see through it.
Yep.
But conversely, a CFO will think, well, you've got 22 people.
Yep.
Like surely that's enough.
Yeah.
How do these guys justify additional headcount? And that's such a knowing smile.
Like in a big company, it's a knowing smile because I think CFOs just don't bother anymore because you can be obfuscated. So in fact, they just
say no.
No, they just tell you, we need to cut. You got 21, make it 23. You work it out.
Yeah.
They don't even bother to ask anymore. I'm talking about real life
100%.
They don't even bother to ask anymore why, where, what's the best. No. You know better than me, which is code for you know how to you know how to hide things from me. If I can't even ask you or tell you where to cut. I'm just going to give you a target. This is your cost reduction target. And you go find the best way to do it. So you're in control of your department and do it. Like in our startup world, well, it's a lot more nuanced than that. I mean, because we are smaller and everyone, we're only at this stage a 40, 45 person team. We're small enough to know what people are doing and ask, et cetera, and what they're working on. And the linkages, that's so different, like in a smaller company. The linkages between the decisions you make and what you work on and how they show up in the financials almost immediately is so quick and apparent. You're really controlling the reins of a business in a
But in a dev team, to have 24 versus 22 or 25 versus 22, almost no one, including the CTO, actually probably knows what the impact of that is. They just know they want to build more features.
Yes.
And the only way you do that is you hire more people. That's that's their natural inclination.
Yes. So the CTO is always wanting more resources.
Because there's always more to build than they can possibly build.
Correct.
And the only solution is more heads to build stuff.
Correct. And but sometimes more heads doesn't necessarily result in reduction of time for projects. It depends on the project and what you're working on. What it does do is builds capability of more projects to work on. But to develop a feature might be something quick, a week or two. Sometimes a feature can take months. And having more people working on it doesn't necessarily reduce the time. So therefore, I think as a CFO, so all I'm doing is increasing the cost, but not reducing the time, which doesn't give me faster revenue.
But the problem is the CFO would have told you that reduces time because they would have generally believed that. They would have honestly believed that.
And how does any CFO or anyone just go back and document and track those decisions and hold people accountable? Like, hey, you said this is going to reduce time. And no one remembers that. You make those decisions and you keep going.
And you don't hold people to account because one, that's a very ugly conversation to have. And the CTO just says, look, there's stuff I didn't know. I didn't know that we had this complexity, this client needed this, or this country needed this regulation we didn't know about.
So I'm going to tell you a little secret of
Mm,
my life in corporate on that point is I quickly discovered when I was asking for capital expenditure in my
mm,
organization, I'd have to fill in a form and give some revenue analysis and this and that.
mm,
And it was really hard to justify. And then um, one project we did, and we didn't end up with the revenue that we wanted from this project.
mm,
And I discovered I was never called up on it.
mm.
No one ever checked up on me and
Yeah.
held me to account. Then I'm thinking, so this is just a process either to slow us down for asking for capital
Mhm,
or just something people go through to make a decision at a point in time, but then no one ever circles back in this
mhm,
organization. So you know what I did from then on?
mm.
I just made up the numbers.
You just
Made up
fairy
the numbers.
tales, complete fairy tales.
Just,
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yeah.
we need to do this, and off with the not making up numbers for the sake of it, but things we wanted to do to grow the company.
Mm.
Where a global team in New York would often just say no unless you meet these certain criteria. I'd just make up the numbers
You
to
meet
meet
the
the
criteria.
criteria.
Yep.
It would get approved. No one would ever come back to see whether
Yeah.
the benefits that we claimed were actually realized. In many cases, they were or met 80%, which means not
Mm.
fully realized.
Yeah.
No one held us to account. But what we did do was grow our business, and
Mm.
we got the resources we wanted to do things. And we didn't end up growing the business,
Yeah.
maybe not to the perfect ratio, but otherwise we would have never been able to grow. So coming back to this startup world,
Mm.
a dev team can always make up any numbers, which, because I'm not the subject matter expert, I
Mm.
wouldn't be able to say that's right or not right.
Yeah.
You kind of have to trust your CTO,
Yeah.
when they're coming to you with something. So, look, I mean,
Because something like sales is easy, right? Because salesperson, they've got a target, they've got a
correct,
quota,
right,
you add
yeah,
into the forecast.
yeah,
Anything that generates revenue is generally quite easy to put
mhm,
into a spreadsheet.
yes,
Anything that holds costs or builds features,
yes,
support, even onboarding, you can kind of justify because they can onboard more customers and more transactions.
hmm,
Because I often find CFOs of large organizations, and perhaps you've found this to be a change, CFOs of large organizations where it's a pure cost element,
yep,
you look for reasons to say no.
yes. Often you do.
The default is to say no
Hmm.
because you don't understand the cost base. The manager probably doesn't understand the cost base. Um, if cost goes out of control, or, companies die. In smaller organizations, often CFOs need to find ways to say yes,
Hmm.
but say yes to things where they don't have complete information,
Mm,
and nor does the CTO actually understand or have complete information. How,
correct.
how, how did you make that transition?
So yeah, it's that's one of the things I've had to unlearn and relearn.
Mm,
I've had to unlearn the natural instinct to have complete or almost complete information before making a decision.
yeah.
Often now, I have 60 to 70% of the information I need to make a decision, but I have to make a decision.
Mhm.
And I make a decision and we go with it and we move on to the next decision and the next
Yeah.
issue. Um, Getting things good enough and out the door and actions started
Mm,
is better than waiting to have all the information to make probably the same decision you're going to make anyway, but now you've just lost time and
mhm.
opportunity. So the speed at which um, decisions are made and business goes in my organization or probably most startups is far, far greater than the speed at which decisions are made and also the speed at which businesses grow. And I think there's a bit of a linkage there actually
Mm.
in a larger organization. The faster you make decisions, even if they're not perfect and they're not going to be perfect, they're not going to be optimal because you don't have all the data. But the faster you make decisions and put them into action and get things done,
Yeah.
the quicker the outcomes happen.
But I think it's obviously the speed, I 100% agree. But I reckon it's the default often has to be yes in startups.
I don't agree.
Yeah. Tell me why.
I'll tell you what.
Mm.
I know what you're saying because you don't have the luxury of time or money to sit around and judge.
You don't have
So
the luxury of knowing.
or knowing,
Yeah.
yeah, because in a large company, someone's done the product 30 years
Mm.
before me and the systems before me and like
Yeah.
the market positioning before me. We're working all that out as we go. We're working at our market positioning, our product,
Yeah.
our client base, everything. We're working
Yeah.
at everything. The default has to be yes, because if you start with a default of no,
Mm.
um, you will not get anything done because there's so many reasons to say no to decisions in a
Yeah.
startup. There's so much unknowns.
Almost every decision, like a good objective CFO would say no to everything because
Yep.
everything has a cost base against it and
Yep.
a huge uncertainty, especially very early stage when you were sub 10 employees.
Yeah.
40 employees, you have some knowledge, you have some revenue, you have some history.
I'd agree. Look, I mean, you asked me a question. Is that the default is yes, and I said I'm not sure. Whilst I agree the default should be yes, it just can't be a blind yes. I think that's what
It's a yes, but.
no, it's a yes with justification,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? So what I mean by that is,
Mm,
hey, we should buy this company that's going to grow us. Hey, we should invest 10 more people in our ops team. We should invest
mm,
6 people in customer services. We should put 4 people in tech team. We should put 4 people in sales in overseas or whatever.
yeah.
All good ideas. So if we said yes to all of them, we'd be bankrupt in next month
Mm-hmm.
because
Yep.
I can't put on 20 people in a month and still have money.
Yeah.
So it's a yes with justification. So it's a yes, but almost with prioritization on what we do,
Mm,
because we're very good at coming up with ideas.
mm-hmm.
That's the same in a big company or a small company. If you employ good people, good ideas come from everywhere, which is
Yep.
another reason. I'm circling back to what I said earlier,
Mm,
why you shouldn't have this command and control structure, because that there's a bit of an assumption there that only the ideas and only the solutions come from the top. No,
yeah.
ideas come from everyone and everywhere. If you
Mm,
employ good people, people will come up with good ideas to help the business grow.
yeah.
So having good ideas is not the problem in a startup.
Mhm.
The problem is deciding what to work on, not running out of money, and making sure what you work on has the best bang for buck, the best value
That's so.
for what you're doing right now,
Yeah.
this quarter or this year, because 2026 for us as a business, now we're 60 plus people compared to
Mm-hmm.
40, is very different to at the start of last year. Like the evolution of your company is very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's just maybe close off on the cost base side of things. What
Yep.
about on the growth side of things? That's a question. Right? How do we grow and not run out of cash?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think about growth investments? So, that'd be investments in your sales, your marketing.
Yep.
That I'm sure every day of the week they want to open up into a new country or they want a new currency.
Yep.
How do you think about that?
So we look at where does our growth come from?
Mm.
And so I can now talk to my business, my
Yeah.
specifics of my industry. So our growth is coming from um, new markets where we don't operate in at the moment. So there's a decision to be made to invest in people and resources and systems there to
And that's geographically new countries, is it? Yep.
geographically new countries.
How many countries are you guys in now?
We do 22 currencies. So
Okay.
yeah, at the moment, so we're
Mhm.
growing every year. There's also new products. So that's the whole tech team, product development team.
Yeah.
There's new currencies.
Mhm.
So, sorry, not new currencies, because that's the markets. New payment methods within. So for example, in Australia, you can pay via credit card, debit card, Google Pay, Afterpay, or Pay ID. So
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
5 different methods. In Philippines, you'll have
Whatever their local payment
PHP in
system.
Maya,
Yeah.
VN Pay in Vietnam,
Yeah.
etc. So you can, like, we've got one system of account to account in Pay ID. In
Mm.
other countries, there's multiple systems. So
Mhm.
so there's the more products and features you enable for your clients in payments,
Mm.
the more you open yourself up to more market opportunity
Yeah.
and landing more clients. And then growth also comes from share of wallet for each client that you have. So
Mm.
if your existing clients, it's not always the case that you're getting all of their volume.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're getting a portion of their volume. So then how do we increase that? And that's a mixture of good account management, proving your ability and your product that it's safe, it's compliant over a period of time. So then go back to the client and say, can you now give us more, or can you give us can we do a better deal for you,
How
etc.
do you get CEOs to think about that? Because often I find CEOs are more focused on, new markets, new
Yeah.
regions, because that's so much more fun and exciting.
Yes,
And going back to existing clients and account managing them and getting more share of wallet
correct.
is a lot more boring.
A lot more boring, yeah. It's hard to get that. It's very hard.
How do you get that focus there? Because obviously,
I don't
if you ask me, it's always easier to get more from your existing clients
Yes.
because they already know you, they already like you, they're already transacting something.
I don't know. I think CEOs are always after the fun stuff, you know.
No, totally.
Like,
I mean, that's the benefit of the job, right? You get to do whatever
yeah,
you want. You got
yeah.
someone else do everything else.
CEOs would much rather love to announce, just launch a new office in Tokyo or
Yeah.
New York or whatever,
Mhm.
than not be able to announce we doubled our volume on an existing client. You know, like that's
Yep. That's a boring press release. Yeah.
it's the same financially, but it's
Yeah.
one's way more fun than the other, right? So,
Mhm.
I think yeah, I don't think I've got my CEO to focus on that.
Yeah.
It's a portfolio of things we're working on all the time.
Mm.
So coming back to the question of how to get the growth, there's geographic growth, there's product growth, there's payment method growth.
Mhm.
Um, And then there's that like share of wallet growth as well. So probably 4 different ways my revenue can increase.
Yeah.
So some of them are quick and some of them are slow burn, like the new geographic market ones. So you then have to work out. It's almost like for me, it was almost like timelining it. Like we start putting money in here, allocating capital here. What's our expected timeline in market A and market B according to individual nuances, regulatory hurdles, etc., to actually being able to get a license or partner with someone who has a license to then actually start generating revenue. And what would that be and how often, etc. So you can develop like not a cash flow forecast, but a business forecast of each of those 4 streams, and like the ability to, sorry, the 5th one is just more clients in existing markets. So that's your sales team. Yeah. Which you don't need to spend more on necessarily because you've already got the salespeople.
Yeah. And they'll just generate more revenue it'll just kind of accrue and snowball.
Correct. Yep. So you're looking at those 4 or 5 buckets of how revenue can come into your organization. So that's how I've mentally compartmentalized it for my company. And then you have that conversation with the CEO and COO generally on which of those areas we want to invest in and when. And so what I try to do is not to say no to anything, because then I am the CFO that says no all the time, and that's not what I want to be. Basically, try and categorize them into quarters. So no one feels like their objectives are not happening this year.
It's just that quarter 4 instead of quarter 1.
There's a quarter 3 thing, quarter 2, quarter 5. Because my job is to allocate capital.
Okay.
This is how much we can afford to do based on our forecast. Here's what I propose we do in quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And then that frames discussion to see this is what's up for discussion. Yeah. What's not up for discussion is how much money can we spend, because the CFO's done the analysis and told us how much we have available if we want to maintain our runways and all that stuff. What is up for discussion is what we do and when we do it. Yeah. And CFO's given his recommendation, well, let me play with it. And often that's framing it in that way gets the right people involved, I guess, at the right level of decision making, and also gets their buy-in as well, because they're the ones that have come up with the plans. And sometimes they say, we also need to do this and this, things I've not thought of.
But then that's always hard. So I'm sure as a CFO, you probably think, I wouldn't mind building a bit of a war chest, a couple of dollars in the bank just in case something goes wrong.
Yep.
But then the management team are probably thinking, we've got to try this, we've got to spend here, we've got to grow here. How do you balance those two?
I don't have that luxury. So I had to get used to not having that war chest. Because when you're in a big global company, you never look at cash every day because you've got millions.
Look, plenty.
And also you're backed by $1 billion company. But you're never running out of cash. Like here, you should be looking at your cash every day as a CFO of a small company. And I do.
Yep.
My war chest mentally is the 3 months. The 3 months, it's T minus 3 months. Yeah. Because that's how long it would realistically take if you went to invest saying, I need capital now before we run out. It'd probably take you 1 to 3 months to get it. Yeah. So T minus 3 months, that's my war chest, right? That's what I don't touch. So when I do my forecasts and how much we've got to spend, etc., I'm always keeping 3 months away so that we don't run out.
And have you had to raise capital while you've been there? You've been able to, but okay.
We have, So we raised capital probably 8 months in. So someone like me, I'm in a big company, I wouldn't get involved in that. That's a corporate function would do that. So now I am the corporate function.
So you're everything to do with money.
Everything. So I got fully involved in everything on the capital raise, which we did 8 months into my journey here. And now I'm doing another exercise right now to do another one. And I feel much more grounded, much more capable of running this very efficiently compared to the first time. Because the first time I did it, I was learning as I go. On some of the things.
So one of the companies on the board, we always have this discussion because whenever there's time to do a raise, I always wonder in my head, I'll use your numbers. What if we reduced our dev team from 22 to 15? Then would break even tomorrow. Yep. Then would have no need to raise.
Correct. But then we would grow slower.
How do you know that? How do you know that as a CFO that it actually grows slower? Because often as a board member, even I'm more obfuscated out. I don't see any of that day to day. What kind of questions could I, as a board member, ask a CFO of a smaller company to be like, well, I'm in a board meeting. I say to you, why don't we just cut our heads by 7? Let's cut out 7 heads. I don't know. That's $100,000 a month. We'll start breaking even.
Yep.
and then we'll grow from there instead of having to dilute and raise more money.
Okay, so
How do you evidence that we'll grow slower?
Okay, so I mentioned 5 buckets on how we grow.
Mm.
The slowest way to grow is entering a new market because all the setup and months delay to do it. The 2 fastest ways to grow are getting your sales team to get more share of wallet from an existing customer and getting the product team to develop more products to sell, which is more currencies, more payment rails, etc. Because once you've got them available, the people in your pipeline and even existing customers will instantly turn on and onboard and do it. So
But then if I, as on the board, I'll say to you, look, then why don't we just for the next 6 months under index on dev and over index on sales? Why don't we cut 7 heads out of dev, put 2 more into sales, grow existing wallet, we'll get that money sooner?
The answer to that question is a lot of the major revenue opportunities in our pipeline are waiting on this payment method to be turned on and made available in Vietnam, and this one in Africa, and this one in Japan. And that's what our dev team are working on. So if we just put more salespeople on or just focused on sales, they need the additional products to unlock those revenue opportunities. And
how real are they? Because you always hear from a dev team, right? If we only had feature XYZ, I'd sell this, or a sales team, if we only had this feature, I'd sell this.
Yep.
Would these be like contracts that are signed up waiting for a feature, or someone who says they will sign up once a feature's ready?
Both. So there are signed up contracts waiting for a feature to turn on.
Okay.
And there are others.
That's real.
Yep. Which is real.
Yeah.
And there are others which are just pipeline. They're not a customer yet, but they will be once we turn this on. So like the thing is the dev team, so there's a nuance here. The dev team work on developing these product features which are then sold into market to create revenue, but they're also doing lots of other stuff like compliance related activity, etc. So to maintain the payment rails and licenses in all these countries, you have to show all sorts of things.
There's lots of stuff to do.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff there which is not revenue generating, but it is required as a
BAU
as a price of entry in that market, and you can't turn that off. Like you got to have compliance, you got to have risk, you got to have KYC, you got to have all this kind of stuff in different markets. So, if we the way I kind of think about it, if we reduce the dev team to save salaries, the stuff you can't get rid of is the compliance and risk stuff.
Yep.
So 3 or 4 heads will always be 3 or 4, which means instead of having 18 people release products, I've now got 14 people release products. And I've just told you the releasing of products leads to revenue.
Yeah.
So you're saving money, but you're shortening your window you're lengthening your window to get more products.
Let me say that another way, devil's advocate. Okay, look, you got 60 heads.
Yep.
Let's just not increase that.
Yes.
Let's just accept that we can only go into one region per quarter or whatever the velocity of that team is.
Yep.
Let's just not increase that.
That's
because you'll come to cash flow neutral very quickly then, if you're not already there, because you'll keep growing your revenue, you won't grow your cost base.
We won't grow our cost base. Our revenue will grow, and we'll grow slower than what we're doing by investing in certain areas. So the thing is, as a growing business, like we have already achieved cash flow neutrality, and as we grow every month, we're now, I should know this term with the opposite of cash burn, we're cash generating.
Yep. So, almost no startup CFO knows the opposite of cash burn.
So cash generation.
You generate cash.
We generate cash.
Cash flow positive.
Cash flow positive, and we're slowly increasing that every month. Now, we're not a big company yet. We're still a startup or a scale-up, as I think we call ourselves now. So that money, the objective isn't to get that money and sit on it and make a return and generate 10% EBITDA or something like that. There's no such thing. Our objective is to reuse that money into the business to grow our top line, right? Which is either coming from, and this is the real tension, to invest in the next quarter more in sales or more in the ops and dev. More in sales or more in ops and dev. The other corporate functions that we do a little bit around here and there as we grow. So my team's gone from 1.6 to 2 people, like this over the 18 months, but not in a big way. The sales and ops is all where it's at. That's where the tension is. But sometimes you go and I want geographic expansion. So this year we've decided on 2 markets. By the way, CEO initially wanted 4 or 5. And I've not negotiated her down, but I've sort of we've whittled it down to 2 because that's what's doable, and given the length of time involved and cost to actually, from the moment you enter, employ someone to actually generate revenue. It's 6 to 12 months kind of lead time in each of them. But so you've got to start those exercises, but nothing's going to happen this year from the money you put in. So it's an investment into next year and future revenue. So those conversations we do have, and we just try to make sure that we have, I guess with the CFO's guidance, we're allocating capital in the best way to sustainably grow. If we did what you just suggested, which was just not employ anymore, just stay where we are, we would grow, but the rate of growth would be lower than if we reinvest that money that we're generating into more people.
I guess the lens of me saying that was more around if you're still burning cash, but if you're neutral, you spend every additional dollar you have, right?
We have
to grow more.
We have to grow. Otherwise, what's the point of sitting on it?
Okay. So now, going back to the original question, how do we grow and not run out of cash? Like, how do you make that decision about? I mean, every department wants more heads, right? Every single department. There's not a department that wants any less heads. How do you make that decision as a management team, and how do you help kind of inform that decision?
Okay, so that's a good question. Like, I mean, we're doing this exercise now. I'm in the middle of doing budgeting for next year, 26. We've had our end of year management catch-ups, and trying to CEO trying to corral everyone onto the priorities for next year and what we think we might be doing, and then every department head has gone away and thought about that in light of what we want to be doing for 26, and come up with a list of people they want and why, etc. That's come back to us, and now the job for us, for me as a CFO,
you look at that, great, we'll run out of money next month.
So this is my process, and like I'll basically start with all requests, what everybody wants, put them into my spreadsheet. I've got my revenue forecast, I've got my staff cost forecast, and I've got my OPEX forecast that ends up with a profit forecast. So you just go through each of them individually, and once you've got, you have to really look at your revenue first off, because the revenue guides
everything.
So I have a very strong look at revenue with my COO. Revenue forecast.
And have you gotten better at revenue forecasting?
We have now. 18 months in, like even 3-6 months in, I can ask questions as a CFO, but I don't really know the flow of the business properly yet. 18 months in, I'm very aware of it, so I can ask very relevant questions, and I can probably spot too much optimism in forecasts. And there's a level to which myself as CFO and sales and ops need to come to a happy medium or compromise of saying, okay, this is our forecast. Because they'll always forecast too much. I'll always poo-poo it. And we need to come to something. And so once we agree, so that goes in first. The staff cost forecast is what we currently have, plus what everybody has asked for. That all goes in. OPEX expenses is pretty easy to forecast for me. It's a small business, so do that. You add that all up, you see what it looks like, and it looks horrible. And we say, okay, so how much do we need to cut down to make it work, and when and how, etc. So that's a conversation. The way I do it is I do my own first CFO cut. Firstly, I show the unadjusted, unadulterated version of this is what everybody wants. This is the revenue costs and that. And you can see how ugly this looks, guys. This is not a budget. We're going to run out of in March or something like that, right? And so this is what I recommend we do. And these are all the roles that have fallen out. So of the growing from 60 to 120 next year, we can only afford to go from 60 to 90. There's 30 roles we can't hire because we just don't have enough money. Unless the revenue starts to really shoot up, I don't have enough money. So we're actually going to go back into negative territory again and run out of money again. And our war chest that I have is going to whittle away to zero by X date. So I work out something that works out for us, how much we can grow, how many roles we can afford to put in based on the revenue forecast and our OPEX forecast that still has enough money sensibly to grow, still has a war chest, etc. And all I've done is come up with a number, some suggested roles, but in my head, it's the same process as what I did before. The number's not arguable. The number's the number. Like this is the number. What we can talk about is which of those 60 extra roles we put in and take out. You know, so I'm saying we can only afford 30 out of 60. So which of those do you want to put in? Here's my suggestion. Here's the timing, but we can play around with that. So that's a process that I think has to be like a budgeting process like
And
that.
then the four of you guys get together and you
Yeah.
trade what comes in, what goes out?
It has to be directed and run and facilitated by me
Yeah.
as in finance CFO. There's no.
And you do that with all four of you together or one by one?
I start in my organization, so it'll be different in others, but in my organization, I do it with the COO because they control sales and ops, which is the majority.
Yeah.
And then I get the CTO involved for his point of view on what he wants. And then once I've done all that with them, I sort of present to the CEO with them together and say, here's what we've worked on, here's what makes sense, here's et cetera, why. And the CEO will usually adjust a few things because they don't agree with everything that we've done or whatever. But we're not doing a whole detailed exercise with the CEO because the CEO's got so many other things to worry about. But we get it to a stage where it's probably 80, 90% complete, which is our budget, which is our call to action, which is our resource plan, it's our workforce plan. It's all things in one. And it's a pretty important document. Of course, budgets change the month after they're produced, but it's a very important directional document. It goes to our board, etc., and investors. Even we share stuff with them as to what our plans are for this year, and we sort of come to a happy medium, and that goes to the board for sign off, becomes our formalized budget. And that's basically how we roll.
Okay. Fair enough. So what's your macro thought then? Like, about how do you decide on what to invest in? Like, how do we grow and not run out of cash? Well, what's like the big macro learning that you'd give back to people?
I'm speaking from a small company environment. You have to go after things that give you the best bang for buck. And it's not always going to be a financially optimal decision. Like my instincts would tell me. If I've got limited money and there are 5 ideas, which gives me the most revenue first. Let's do that. Then number 2, number 3. Sometimes it's a portfolio of things you have to do, which might be option 1, 3, then 2, then 4, or something like that. Because of various reasons. Sequencing of products, being able to show something for another opportunity later on down the track, gaining credibility in a market, demonstrating something for a regulatory environment, etc. So the order in which you do things isn't always the most financially optimal. So to decide where to put your capital, it's a combination of financial analysis, operational need, and strategic direction, which necessarily involves a conversation with the CEO, COO, and CFO. Those 3 are the most important.
Can I suggest something different?
Sure.
Yeah. So, if I think about like what have you effectively done? I think what you've effectively done is you've increased the level of financial knowledge across the leadership team.
Yes,
over an 18-month period.
Yes, would be to say that.
It's that bundled with emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
I think that's what allows your kind of role to succeed. To be able to meander around these complex conversations, to figure out when to say, when not to say, and to help educate the leadership team on financially managing an organization. Because, I mean, when you worked at a large organization, every senior exec would have had deep finance experience. They would have read P&Ls every day of the week.
In a multinational, of course.
That's just a given. In a small startup where people have a lot of domain expertise, and you might have a first-time CEO and a first-time CTO and a first-time COO, they'll know their area quite well, but they tend on average to not be very financially literate. So I reckon what you've actually done quite effectively is actually increase their financial literacy. And that's what's allowing you to have these kind of complex conversations.
I hadn't thought of it like that. I think everything you've said there is bang on. Like even my CTO, who is the most financially illiterate of the 3 we just mentioned there. Yeah, that sounds bad. He's not illiterate, but like doesn't.
It's not his thing.
It's not his thing.
Yeah.
He has several times remarked to me how happy he is that we've got a CFO on board like me, and because it gives him confidence in the numbers and the state of the business being handled professionally, financially. But also, he said, it's teaching me a few things I hadn't never been involved in, never had to think about. I mean, he's a co-founder. He's a technical co-founder. So he leaves the other stuff to the other CEO co-founder. So I feel like, I guess someone with my way of working and doing things suits this kind of company and this kind of environment. There would be a lot of CFOs like me from large multinationals that wouldn't survive a month or two in a small startup. So there's a level of acceptance you need to work differently.
Yeah, but I think it's those two qualities that probably separate the ones that would succeed, the ones that wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's the, can I educate this team?
Yes.
Because if you don't educate them, if you're not a natural teacher,
Yeah.
you'll get frustrated in 3 months. You'll bang your fists on the table,
Yep.
and you'll get thrown out the door.
Yep.
And they'll probably go bankrupt 3 months later.
Probably, yeah. You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because it's very hard as a CEO of a smaller company to figure out, when do I need a CFO, and then how do I pick the right guy or gal to do that?
I think when you need it, it sort of comes at you.
Yeah.
Like, my CEO realized I need this now, and in the course of doing that project, saying all this analysis and questions and value, like, we need this. Like, being absent this, she could clearly see the gulf in her capability and her decision making versus having it by her side. So the need comes, but it probably hits you at some point.
Yep. But then to select the right
one.
Yeah.
I mean, she's one from one, right? She selected a CFO, and I'm the right one for her, right?
Well done. Better batting average than most.
Well done for her. Well done for me. I got a good job in the right place, the right time. But well done for her. She selected me, and she found. I don't know whether she consciously did this, but she found the right person through the project that felt would meet the working environment of the company that we're in and the industry we're in. I had no experience in FinTech.
Yeah.
I've never used the systems we're working on now. I know nothing about the regulatory environment, who our competitors are, like, just nothing about it. Just that I'm a good, competent CFO.
I'm guessing what she might have seen is this guy knows something I don't, and he's happy to explain it to me.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
They're probably the two things that you saw. And that was probably enough for her to be like, well, let me give this guy a shot.
Yeah.
So you think if it doesn't work out, I'll get rid of him next month anyway.
This is the thing. Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't work out, you always replace them, right? So you have to give someone a shot. If you've identified the need for a role and you want to recruit that role, you have to give someone a shot. So someone you think you can work with, someone you think is going to add value and can fit in well with the organization, is good. I mean, in my role, because no one knows as much about finance as the CFO will know about finance. Having the right sort of CFO type that is willing to explain things and actually willing to get their hands dirty on the operational stuff as well as sit strategically, that's a unique type of CFO that can do all that. So I think, once you found someone that you felt can do that, one from one, just.
So if you boil down the keys for your success, the ones I mentioned was the ability to educate your peers. One would be the emotional intelligence to navigate these conversations.
Yes.
Is there a third? Is it really just those two things? Could those two things alone allow someone from large corporate to make that transition?
There's one thing you haven't said, but you did say it was like an unsaid thing, but I'll add it to the list. It's your core competence.
Yeah.
If you
I take that as a given.
Yeah,
take that as a given.
What you said. What you said. If I've met people who can talk things and communicate things well, their actual core competence, it can get shielded if you have poor core competence in your craft in a large company, because
by layers. It gets shielded by layers. Yeah.
You get shielded by layers, and also there's many people doing parts of finance.
Yeah.
So when I talk about finance, like, I'm just talking one field in a company. Finance is accounts payable, accounts receivable, operational finance, budgeting, management forecasting, board reporting, investor relations, capital allocations, all sorts of different parts of finance. And the larger the corporation you are, people just have one component of finance. So if your core competence isn't that great in finance, you can survive in a bigger company through being very good at a few of those things, not all of them, and working your way up through brilliant communication and presentation and networking and all that. In a smaller company, the core competence becomes very critical.
Yeah.
Because if I was lacking in a few of those things, I couldn't do my job.
Yeah.
I'm expected to do all of those things competently.
Yeah.
So my core competence, you need to be a good general accountant.
Yeah.
And
I absolutely agree with that.
There are people who are CFOs in larger companies who are not good all-rounders as accountants. They're good in certain parts of finance, but not in everything. So, you need that good general competence as well as those emotional intelligence that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, as we wrap up, I mean, the question I like to ask all our guests, I mean, what's something that you've known to be true that you've later found out wasn't?
Something I've known to be true, like in terms of my business.
Yeah, in terms of your career, business, this transition.
Oh, okay, I've got one.
Mm,
And maybe this has happened through my career. And maybe it was true once upon a time. That just work hard and you'll be rewarded.
mm. That's a fallacy, complete fallacy, yeah.
It was said to me by
Yeah.
many people when I started my career. Well done, Lakun, you got a good accounting job. Work hard, you'll go far. You'll be rewarded if you work hard. And without knowing any better, you believed it.
Yep.
If I just put my head down and work hard, someone will notice me.
Mhm.
Will notice that young, bright accountant looking for an opportunity.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. You've got to manage your own career.
Yeah.
One thing I'd say to people is working hard is one thing, but you have to be the promoter of your own work.
Yep.
You have to seek out the opportunity.
You have to be your own cheerleader, right?
You have to be the
CEO of your own career. That's what you've got to do.
You do.
Yeah.
But that advice, I think it's being given a bit more now to the younger generation coming into the workforce. When I started my career, that was not the advice given to me.
It was being almost looked down on back then, I would have thought.
You would be seen as being too boastful if you celebrated anything you did, even if it was great.
Yeah.
Right. And even when you got it, you sort of shied away. Oh, thank you, kind of with the appreciation kind of stuff. It was a taboo thing to be boastful of your own achievements and things. But that was the only lens you was looked at.
Yeah.
You're either boastful or not. And that's not the only lens. It's communication. It's letting people know what you're working on. It's letting people know what you've achieved by saying this is what's been completed.
Yeah.
So people have a mental log of what these people are working on, etc. And it's not cheerleading in the sense of shouting it from the rooftop. It's making yourself known in an organization, making yourself valuable in an organization. That's what gets your career going and gets you the rewards that you're seeking, not just the hard work and keep your head down. That actually doesn't work in today's world.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Sarah.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do want to be a guest, make sure you hit me up and do follow me on socials and make sure you check out future episodes. Thanks, guys.